shattered pink clusters, crushed along the muddy banks of a rice field. These are not flowers, they are the eggs of an invader. Each cluster holds hundreds of leaves, waiting to hatch into voracious mouths. But farmers have learned, if they do not destroy these eggs, the snails will destroy their harvest. This is the golden apple snail, introduced from South America with promises of prosperity. It has instead brought ruin to millions of farmers across Asia. What began as a hopeful experiment quickly spiraled into a biological disaster. With no natural predators, a relentless appetite, and the ability to reproduce at astonishing speed, this tiny mollusk has become one of the most destructive invasive species in agricultural history. From vibrant green paddies to barren fields, its trail of devastation stretches across continents. This is the story of how a delicacy turned into a plague. This is the invasion of the golden apple snail. But how did this invader arrive here in the first place? To find the answer, we must travel back across oceans to the wetlands of South America. In its native home, the golden apple snail lives quietly in rivers and marshes of Argentina and Brazil. There, it plays a role in the natural balance, kept in check by local predators and environmental conditions. It was never a problem until humans move it. In the 1980s, the snail was introduced to Asia with high hopes. It was marketed as a cheap source of protein, a potential delicacy for growing populations. Farmers and investors saw opportunity. Fast-growing, easy to breed, and seemingly profitable. But the plan backfired. People didn't like the taste, the market collapsed, and countless snails, once confined to farms, were released, or escaped, into rivers, canals, and rice paddies. Without natural predators, without barriers, they spread with astonishing speed. From the Philippines to Taiwan, Vietnam to Thailand, the golden apple snail marched across Asia, leaving fields in ruins. Today, it can be found in Japan, China, and even creeping into the southern United States. What began as an experiment in aquaculture has become a global invasion, one that threatens food security for millions. To understand the golden apple snail's power, we must look closer, beneath the shell. This creature may seem slow and fragile, but evolution has armed it with traits perfectly suited for invasion. First, reproduction. A single female can lay up to 1,000 eggs every month in bright pink clusters above the waterline. By laying eggs out of reach of most aquatic predators, the snail ensures that nearly all of its offspring survive. Second, survival. Golden apple snails can breed both in water and in open air, thanks to a unique lungial system. They can bury themselves in mud during droughts, waiting for months until the rains return. They are almost impossible to starve out. Third, appetite. These snails are voracious feeders, tearing through young rice shoots, vegetables, and aquatic plants. A handful of snails can strip a rice paddy bare in just days. Farmers have described it as watching their fields disappear overnight. And finally, adaptability. From warm tropical paddies to cooler waters, from rivers to irrigation canals, the golden apple snail thrives in almost any environment it enters. These traits, high fertility, resilience, insatiable hunger, and adaptability, are the weapons of a perfect invader. And once unleashed, they make the golden apple snail not just a pest, but a force of ecological disruption. Once released into the wild, the golden apple snail did not simply survive, it thrived. And every horror it spread, devastation followed. For farmers, the damage is immediate and brutal. Young rice shoots, the tender foundation of entire harvests, are the snail's favorite food. Just a few dozen snails can wipe out a field within days. In countries like the Philippines and Vietnam, farmers have reported losing up to half of their crop in a single season. For communities that depend on rice as a staple food, this is not just a pest, it is a threat to survival. But the destruction does not stop with agriculture. In natural wetlands, the golden apple snail outcompetes native snails, devours aquatic vegetation, and disrupts delicate food chains. Fish, birds, and insects that once relied on native plants are left struggling to find resources. Even water quality suffers as uneaten plant matter decays and algae blooms spread. And unlike many pests, the golden apple snail has no natural predators in these new environments. Birds may pick at them, fish may swallow a few, but none can keep pace with their explosive reproduction. the balance is broken. In less than 2 decades, this small mollusk has transformed entire landscapes, green paddies reduced to mud, wetlands stripped of vegetation, rivers choked with algae. The golden apple snail is more than an agricultural nuisance. It is an ecological force, reshaping ecosystems in ways scientists are only beginning to understand. For millions of small farmers, the golden apple snail is not just an ecological threat, it is an economic disaster. In Asia alone, this single species is estimated to cause billions of dollars in crop losses every year. Rice, the lifeblood of entire nations, has been hardest hit. In the Philippines, government reports link golden apple snails to crop failures that have pushed thousands of rural families deeper into poverty. In Vietnam's Mekong Delta, one of the world's great rice bowls, the snails have forced farmers to replant fields multiple times in a single season, driving up costs and cutting incomes. But the damage does not stop with rice. Vegetable farms, irrigation systems, and even aquaculture are affected. The cost of chemical pesticides, manual labor for egg removal, and constant field repairs add to the burden. In some regions, the price of control now exceeds the value of the harvest itself. For rural communities, the impact is more than financial. It is social. Families are forced into debt, children are pulled from school to help prod fields. Villages once thriving on stable harvests now live with uncertainty, season after season. And governments face a difficult choice: spend heavily on control programs or risk losing food security for millions. The golden apple snail has turned a simple act of planting rice into a gamble, one that many farmers cannot afford to lose. Faced with this growing menace, farmers and governments have tried everything: hand-picking eggs from riverbanks, setting traps, draining entire fields, spraying chemicals, even introducing ducks and fish to eat the snails. Ducks devoured hundreds of snails in flooded paddies. In some places, it seemed like the tide might finally turn. But the golden apple snail always found a way back. Their eggs are laid high above the waterline, safe from most predators. Their ability to bury deep into mud makes them invisible during the dry season. And their sheer reproductive power means that even if 90% are killed, the survivors are enough to repopulate an entire region within weeks. Chemical pesticides proved costly and dangerous, killing not only snails, but fish, frogs, and the very ecosystems farmers relied on. Biological controls, like imported predators, carried their own risks, threatening to create new imbalances. And yet, the story of the golden apple snail is not only one of destruction. In an unexpected twist, the very traits that make it such a menace have also given it value. In some regions, golden apple snails are harvested as food. Their meat, high in protein, is sold in markets and restaurants. In places like the Philippines and parts of South America, they are considered a delicacy, grilled, stewed, or served in soups. There are even efforts to transform this invader into opportunity. Some entrepreneurs explore using snail shells as sources of calcium for animal feed or even as natural fertilizers. But here lies the paradox: every use depends on keeping the snail abundant, and abundance is exactly the problem. By turning to the golden apple snail for resources, humanity risks encouraging the very invasion it seeks to control. A pest, a resource, a danger, a commodity. The golden apple snail is all of these at once, a reminder that in nature, even the most destructive forces can wear many faces. From bright clusters of eggs clinging to canal walls to the flooded fields stripped bare of rice, the golden apple snail has left its mark across continents. A creature brought with good intentions, transformed into one of agriculture's most destructive forces. Its story is a cautionary tale, a reminder of what happens when species are moved beyond their natural borders. Invasion is rarely immediate. It creeps, multiplies, and before long, it reshapes entire landscapes.